Last week was the most humiliating of Donald Trump's presidency so far. And the key word there is certainly so far, because so far on this Monday, Donald Trump seems to be doubling down on the embarrassment, not just with legal losses to James Comey and Letitia James, fractures within the MAGA coalition, but the embarrassment and the humiliation rubbing off on everyone else. And that includes Melania Trump, who fled from an event today after 3 minutes as Donald Trump's scandals continue to rock this White House. We are going to get into it all because it is just so damn funny. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into Melania, I want to start with the scandals that have everyone in this White House so humiliated and her running away. Of course, that starts with Donald Trump's death threats towards Democratic members of Congress, like Ruben Gallego, who is hitting back today.
What's your level of trust in the U.S. military justice system, if it were to get that far, to handle this?
I trust them actually a lot, and for a couple reasons. Number one, these are professionals. They are also swearing to the Constitution of the United States. They know that there will be fallout and consequences if they are used in a hard way to basically railroad someone like Senator Kelly, because Donald Trump's going to be gone a couple years. And if you're part of the military that is going after sitting senators, sitting members of Congress, and part of the weaponization of government, there will be consequences, without a doubt. So I think there's going to be a lot of officers that are going to be part of this potential tribunal, if they want to call it that. They're going to be looking over their shoulders because they know that Donald Trump will be gone and they will not have that protection. They're going to have to do the safest thing possible, which is follow the Constitution of the United States, and you'll be fine.
Not that there has ever really been a positive week of foreign policy news in this Trump administration, unless you count positive news being positive news for Trump's grift, in which case the Qatari jet was really great for Trump. But of course, this is how Democratic members of Congress should be responding, forcefully and all the time. Do not debate the semantics of, well, we said this in the video and Trump wants to construe it that way. No. Donald Trump is a criminal. He is going to demand criminal acts from our military. We have to stop that at all costs. We do not care if Donald Trump comes after us. We do not care what Donald Trump threatens. Donald Trump is a criminal, and the military did not swear an oath to him. He is not our king. Millions of Americans have made that clear in multiple protests. Donald Trump is not above the law, and if you follow his illegal orders, you will not be as well. Speak, and that plain English, that is what Ruben Gallego did, and that is what we need every single Democrat doing right now, as Donald Trump's foreign policy, as idiotic as it is, becomes more and more unpopular. We should be talking about it because they can't spin it. Just listen to Carolyn Levitt try to when she was asked about Donald Trump literally taking talking points from Russia and his latest peace plan announcement.
This week,
Caroline.
John.
Thanks a lot, Caroline. There are a few Republican senators who are critical of the 28-point peace plan, including Senator Rounds, Senator Graham, Senator McConnell. What do you say to those senators who say that this is giving too much away to Russia? And has Russia made any concessions as it relates to a possible peace deal concerning ending the war in Ukraine?
I would point any critics to the words of the Ukrainians yesterday, in which they said that they feel very positive about this plan. They've been very involved. They have had direct input on the language of this plan, and that we are in direct communication and correspondence with them. Any idea, let me just finish with this, the idea that the United States of America is not engaging with both sides equally in this war to bring it to an end is a complete and total fallacy. And I saw a lot of misinformation and rumors and allegations against people in this building, such as Secretary Rubio and Special Envoy Wynkoff and the President himself, that they are favoring one side over the other. That could not be further from the truth. I have watched as the President and his team have worked around the clock overnight with both sides on endless phone calls, endless meetings to try to bring this war to a close. And any suggestion otherwise is a complete misunderstanding of the facts. It's coming from people who have no idea what they're talking about.
This is not a peace plan to start. Let's be real about this. This is a complete surrender, and it is a humiliation to everyone involved. And like I said about everyone in this White House, it has been humiliation after humiliation, especially for the spouses. J.D. Vance with a little extra long hug for Erica Kirk last month, following that up with Usha Vance not wearing her wedding band, and Melania, who's never been around, and the rare appearances that she makes just seems out of it and not to care, but especially today when talking about her favorite topic in the world. And what is that? Well, in her words, the Christmas. We don't love the Christmas. And she made that very clear as she just fled from her event today. Grinch Melania Trump spends 2 minutes and 50 seconds at Christmas event before fleeing. It seems that Melania Trump has yet to warm up to the holiday spirit. The First Lady spent 2 minutes and 50 seconds welcoming the arrival of the White House Christmas tree, hightailing it back inside the presidential residence after just a few handshakes and photo ops. She circled the horse-drawn carriage carrying the first family's Christmas tree, calling it beautiful before offering smiles to press photographers and walking back into the White House. Melania has not been shy in her feelings around the holiday season. In 2020, CNN published leaked audio of the former model from 2018 during her husband Donald Trump's first presidential term, in which she complained about her holiday season responsibilities. "I'm working my ass off on the Christmas stuff. That who gives an F about the Christmas stuff and decorations," the First Lady said, "but I need to do it, right?" The White House did not immediately respond to a request for comment Monday. The arrival of the Christmas tree hints that Melania's holiday decor will be fully revealed soon, though it should be more minimal compared to years past, given the destruction of the White House's East Wing, which typically displayed these decorations. So Melania Trump, as you can see here, not super duper in the spirit. No gifts were given out. She didn't burst into song. There were no carols, or she was certainly not visited by 3 ghosts in the middle of the night because if you haven't heard already, there's a war on Christmas. There's a war on Christmas coming. The bombs are dropping. The guns are firing. Stay safe. War on Christmas. Democrats. You remember the war on Christmas? Remember Obama's war on Christmas? It's a war on Christmas, and we don't like to see it. It's not great to have a war. Trump definitely solved that one. Melania, war on Christmas herself, I guess. Not a fan. Not a fan. And again, this would be a non-story, and maybe it is. I don't think it is, except for the fact that she's literally never there. She is never at the White House. And so for her to be there is kind of a special event. Not that I'm stoked about it. But she was there for 2 minutes and 50 seconds exactly. That's it. I know you shouldn't do math on live television, which this isn't, but if I am counting correctly, that is 170 seconds, which is not a lot of seconds. I think since we started playing that clip of Melania not wanting to be at the Christmas unveiling, I have talked for more than 170 seconds. That's probably not true, but give me a couple more seconds and I will have. That is how uncommitted she is to all of this. And why wouldn't she? Melania doesn't want the stink on her. There is one thing that Melania actually has contributed to this administration, and it is the threat of a lawsuit against author Michael Wolff, saying that if he does not stop talking about her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein, though apparently they were intimate together, allegedly, to protect myself from the feds busting down my door and Melania suing me for a bill, which I don't have. We're still paying off the student loans, Melania, so don't sue me. Or do. I don't care. That was her one contribution. Was not saying that Donald didn't spend time with Jeff, his best buddy. It was just her. And by the way, now I have been talking for longer than Melania was at the Christmas event. That is how short a period of time she spent. But this has been Melania's only contribution, is saying, don't loop me into that Epstein shit. I don't want to be a part of it. Donald, he can fend for himself. He's a fucking pervert. That is her contribution. I don't know. That just kind of cracks me up. I find it funny, this dynamic. It just cracks me up. It's just funny how it's all crumbling. And thank God, he deserves to have his life fall apart. Donald Trump has been the luckiest bastard on planet Earth for far too long. It is time for a little accountability. And specifically on the Epstein files, which it seems like the mainstream media has decided that they don't want to talk about at all, unless it's about Democrats, apparently. And Jamie Raskin shot down that notion on CNN in one of the more ridiculous interviews that I've seen from Pamela Brown, who I think is usually a pretty good anchor on CNN, even though they're not my favorite network by any stretch of the imagination. But Jamie Raskin just responded so perfectly to this utter nonsense, but I want you to take a look.
To be clear that, use the example of the president. Texting with the president of the United States is different than a pedophile, right? I mean, Jeffrey Epstein was more than just a constituent. He was, hold on, let me just finish. He was a known sex offender. He was also a donor, right? He was a donor. And Stacey Plaskett, in her deposition in 2023, acknowledged she went to Epstein's New York home to solicit money for the Democratic Party in 2018. So I guess my question for you is, I know you have a relationship with her. You were an impeachment manager with her, right? But if this were a Republican in the same situation, would you still excuse it?
Well, in other words, are you saying, would I want to censure someone just because they had a phone call with a convicted felon and an adjudicated sex assailant, because that's what Donald Trump is. Remember, he's got an adjudicated sexual assault charge in New York that he was convicted of, in addition to the 34 criminal felonies. So I'm not quite sure what your point is here. Should we be censuring anybody who's on a phone call with a felon?
Well, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying, would you be defending a Republican who was in the same position, texting with Jeffrey Epstein?
I did.
Texting with Jeffrey Epstein after he was a known convicted sex offender, and just be calling it a constituent when in fact he was a donor and there was more there.
Well, I mean, we could take the example of the Republican serial liar and fraudster from New York. I'm spacing his name out right now, who left Congress, who was just
George
pardoned
Santos?
by.
Is that what you're talking about, George Santos?
George Santos.
Okay.
Yeah, I defended George Santos. They wanted to expel him because they considered him inconvenient, but he had not had a criminal conviction, he'd not had a civil conviction, and he'd not gone through the ethics process. And that was my whole point with Stacey Plaskett. If you think she's violated a federal law or a rule of the House, charge her with it and let's take it through the ethics committee. But she hadn't been charged with anything. That was my simple point.